Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to have some Division 9 online ranked gameplay in the lightweight division, and we're going to be using none other than Justin Gaethje. And with the latest patch, obviously with the calf kick being added and leg kicks now play a more dominant role throughout the fight, Justin Gaethje in turn has become a lot better. I mean, he's got the leg kicking stats already, and it's a tool that if used correctly it can be devastating in fights, and we're coming up against Khabib, so I'm expecting the fight to go to the ground straight away, and where it's a 3-round fight, not a 5-round fight, the first round I can't really afford to take off, so I'm just going to have to try to figure out my opponent's patterns whilst trying to implement damage also. And we know the fight's going to get to the ground at one point or another. I mean, Justin Gaethje has phenomenal takedown defense. I'm going to really need to work my leg kicks and try attack Khabib from the base. I mean, if you throw a lead leg kick whilst an opponent's shooting a takedown, it actually cancels that transition. So that's what I'm looking to do here. As you can see, my opponent's starting off very aggressive, and that's to be expected. I mean, if I was using Khabib, I'd start off aggressive, pushing you towards the fence, and due to it being a 3-round fight, you can afford to shoot takedowns and miss a couple, because once you land one, as long as you control it for the majority of the round, you end up winning the round. And that's a tactic a lot of people are using now, which is quite frustrating to play against. They'll just sit in your half guard, but that's just something you've got to look to beat. And as you can see, my opponent shoots and gets the takedown here, does a good job of it. And we knew this was going to happen. We knew eventually my opponent would get takedown, and I'll do a great job of swaying the punch and getting out. And now we're back onto the feet. So my opponent managed to get the fight to where he wanted. Couldn't do anything with it, and I've picked up that slight pattern for the ground and pound. And as you can see, now that I'm on my feet, throwing a lot of strikes, I'm working that leg really well. If you look at my opponent's health stats, the left leg already isn't in the best position. My opponent gets another takedown, but he gets it against the cage, which is always a good thing for me, because I can work towards getting out onto my feet. And as you can see, I deny his transition here, and my opponent gets me in a Kimura, I believe, and I'm not too worried just because I've got good submission defense, so does Justin Gaethje, and my stamina is in a decent position. And as you can see, I've had no problems getting out of that submission attempt. And now that we're on the ground, we're going to look to do some damage, and I had the stamina advantage, so I went over to side control, and I'm going to look to dominate my opponent on the ground for a bit. And this is a bit of reverse psychology. I mean, this is where my opponent wants the fight to go, so if I quickly show him I can do some damage there, then he might not keep shooting for those takedowns. And as you can see here, I actually stunned my opponent and shot for a takedown. And I'm just looking to show my opponent that I'm more than comfortable on the ground if that's where you want the fight to go. And as you can see, from side control, doing a bit of damage, and then we get up and it's straight back to it, being very aggressive, working that leg kicking very well. And as you can see, my opponent's getting a bit frustrated, started throwing a lot of elbows there, and I'm just trying to remain calm, look for my shots, hit my opponent with a nice uppercut there, and I'm swaying the punches. We managed to get the knockdown here. We get on top looking for the ground and pound finish, but unfortunately the round ended. So overall, a very good round. It couldn't have gone much better. We got the knockdown. We showed my opponent that on the ground we can do work, and we also implemented the leg kicks very well. And we saw my opponent's submission attempt, and we now know that my opponent's submissions aren't the best, so that's one thing to keep in mind. And as you can see, my opponent knows he's taken too much damage on the feet and shoots for the takedown almost instantly. And the way he's shooting those takedowns, all it's going to take is a lead leg and an uppercut, and my opponent will be put to sleep. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for my opponent to shoot and potentially land an uppercut. As you can see, my opponent's putting on a lot of pressure here, and if this was the meta before with the block breaking, I would have been in trouble there against the cage and him spamming. But as you can see, I'm remaining calm. I'm using my head movement when I can to let my block recover. I'm really working that leg kick. We get another stun here, and my opponent's in a terrible position. I mean, it's not going to take much now to finish the fight. I'm pushing the pace here, hit the leg kick, and then, as you can see, pushing my opponent against the fence really, really well. And my opponent's going to be forced to do something, probably going to look for a takedown. This is what you want to do with pressure fighting. I mean, look at that knockout, that's beautiful. And this is what pressure fighting does, it forces you to do something that you don't want to do. I forced the takedown out of my opponent, and I hit him with a beautiful uppercut, and it put my opponent straight to sleep. And that's probably one of the best uppercut finishes I've had, when an opponent's going for a takedown. It was so clean. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.